Hi, Dylan.
Hey,
You're back. Nice to
yeah,
see you.
good seeing you again.
So, Dylan is a Radius member, Will, and Will owns a therapy practice, mental health therapy practice over on 11th and Sass.
Okay.
So,
Well,
so very close to here.
I walk up around there most of the time. Is that something Journeys or
hmm Yep,
yeah?
Yep.
you
Okay.
got it.
You got it.
Dylan, what is your jam?
Um, I guess like the thing that I'm uh at Radius for is I'm trying to build a kind of point of sale delivery app, food delivery app system that I'm hoping will service the Erie Downtown Partnership and all the like restaurants and stuff that are in it,
hmm
along with like maybe Waldemere and I mean really anywhere. But I'm trying to create these like little pockets where it would be a good trial run and something that would um, be a little bit more contained and and an easier kind of lift than like going straight up against like, hey, I have a Grubhub competitor. So,
hmm
yeah.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah. And I don't know, it bore out of a previous intern or not internship, previous company I worked for. I built all this software for them, and when I left, the software came with me, and I've had it since then, and have wanted to like kind of turn it into something or find a use for it. Um, so I'm just like updating it, modernizing it, kind of tailoring it for not specifically for this situation, but this one can is a good test bed, and I need to
Mhm.
like make it amenable to this. So
Yeah.
so I'm doing that in my free time. My day job is I work for another tech startup that's I work remotely from here. Um,
Okay.
And are you moving, Dylan?
kind of. That's a long story.
Oh,
So yeah,
no problem.
no.
Well, so we're at 135. Do you want to say what you do and then I'll do my little marketing factoid and then you guys can ask me any questions you have for the office hours.
Yeah, sure. So Dylan, I wear a few different hats. Some of them are kind of like my retirement dream job being developed. And then
Mhm.
um, Journey to a Trauma-Informed Life is a for-profit therapy practice, and we have 10 clinicians. And I run the place, I grow the place. I have a co-owner, Angelica Spraggins, and she is mostly managing the clinicians, supervising them, and doing some of the hands-on tasks. And I'm trying to do less of the therapy myself and more of the big, big projects, growth kind of stuff.
Mhm. Gotcha. Very
Yeah.
cool. Mm.
Awesome. So there is not a tight structure to these calls. They're more of office hours, drop in and ask a question. But what I've prepared is, a little thought or factoid or tidbit to try to get conversation started. So today's is about when you want to start marketing, what's a good framework to start with? So I'm just going to show this diagram chart that I've curated. And let's see, one second. Let's get the conversation going. Okay, do you guys see green,
Mhm.
red, yellow? So this is the approach that I'll take to most any project, and I've worked with Will on a few projects in the past. But the first one always must start with goals. What are you trying to do? So if you're trying to get downloads or trying to get bookings, trying to get opt-ins, what's the thing, the driver of the whole purpose of running a campaign has to be very clearly defined from the start in order to build out the most productive tactics. So that's number one. And so we could even run through this if somebody has a scenario they want to try. But so goals is number one. And oftentimes I love travel analogies. And so I'll say things like the destination, right? In order to build an itinerary for the travel, we have to know where we're going. So where are we going? The next element is ITA, or the ideal target audience. You'll hear that even as ideal target buyer, ideal persona, avatars. The point of this, whatever word you use, is who are you trying to get in front of? Especially for small businesses, nonprofits, you can't tell everything to everyone. You just don't have the budget to do that and the means to do it. So you have to pick a vertical or pick an audience so that your messaging becomes so crafted to them. So where are you going and who is it for? This red section here, I've said pain. And so if you think about the ideal target audience, they have a pain in which what you're trying to sell to them helps with. So, Dylan, in your case, of pre-ordering and getting food delivered beyond, and I know I'm not paraphrasing it correctly, but the goal is to
Mhm.
get it faster and easier, right? So the pain, what are the pains? Waiting 55 some minutes, or the price gouging of the fees that come with it, or um, think about all the challenges and frustrations that the ideal target audience is having, in which what you're providing helps give them solutions to. So let me think of Will's his other practice. Can I talk about the other one, disco?
Sure. Hmm.
So Will does
Disco. I like
consulting.
when you say that.
Will does consulting to other therapists as one. And so what are the challenges of the therapist, right? Of better business practices, better techniques, niching down, um, just it's all about pulling on the heartstrings. You think of Mad Men and back in the day where marketing and sales were very different, number one, and two, the tactics then where you need it, buy it now on sale for 9.97. Those days are over anymore. And storytelling is the thing, but to make storytelling even better, it comes from pulling the heartstrings. And so to really understand what are the needs, wants, challenges, frustrations, struggles, um, well, I'm sure you have more negative words from therapy zone of challenges that I could use, right? But it's all the pain. And if you list all those out about your ideal target audience, you're gonna come up with your messages. And there's your sweet spot. And then you can list out some of your messages below. This will now get you the position of being relatable because you're going to speak their speak. Um, you're going to be get attention because you're relating to a pain that they're having versus just being more noise in a thread or just a crowded ad on the screen or whatever the tactic is. So, getting so finite down onto the challenges will help you craft the best messages. From there, in a combination of goals, there's a difference between goals and outcomes. So, in outcomes, this might be um, increasing the database, increasing open rate, measuring click-through rate, monitoring impressions, monitoring click-through rates. Dylan, for you, monitoring downloads, or if it's an app ad, did they click on the ad but didn't download the app? Where can you find out where the gaps are. So those become your KPIs. When we understand what you're trying to do, who you're trying to do it for, and what pain you're solving, then it's easier to determine what are the distribution methods. And distribution methods may be things like organic social or paid social, streaming, CTV, TV, radio, press release, events, like all the things. I mean, there's a whole myriad of different advertising techniques that oftentimes I'll see clients say, well, we tried this one thing, we threw it up, and we'll see what sticks. Well, when we can really understand who you're getting in front of and what you want them to do, the vendors in which we use through distribution channels, they have such finite data to hyper target placing this message in front of the right people so that they do the thing you want them to do. And now you're spending your money more intentionally. So someone like Dylan, and I think Dylan, you gave me permission last time, I can call on your case a bit,
Hmm.
of local restaurants. So we know already it's the Erie region. Maybe you start with just Erie County, or if you start with the downtown radius or whatever geographic footprint. And then you can even finite, we talk to vendors to see how many queries they can pull, but what size of restaurant, maybe what type of restaurant, what cuisine, how many staff, how many head count or table seat counts. You can get so finite, and then you'll know exactly how to talk to them, because how I talk to Oliver's Rooftop is going to be different than how I talk to Franco's Cafe. Right? They're
Hmm.
two totally different types of places, but we've defined that by who we're getting in front of and what pain they have. And it all makes your distribution that much more specific because you don't have to be everywhere. You just have to be in the right place. Make sense?
Yep.
So I've taken this a step further if you guys want to go a little deeper.
Okay.
So we've crafted the message of whoever your target goals are, and then listed out a variety of distribution methods. In this particular scenario, what it's saying is we're going to deliver this one message across all of these channels and point all of them to a landing page. And the landing page is going to repeat the pain, have language that's completely relatable to that ideal target audience, and offer solutions and ask for an engagement. And to specify, solutions aren't get the app in Dylan's case. It's we're going to do XYZ better so that it's the solution to the pain. The service and the method to get to the solution is the app. So this goes from that madman change, right? Of buy the app, get it now, you need it, to no, you want your food quicker, easier, and hot and more affordable. So to do that, get this app.
Mhm.
And then things that we track are always, well, always the standard things are form submissions and phone tracking. Now, for you, Dylan, instead of form submissions, yours would be straight downloads, right? Unless you're looking for partner engagement, whole different messaging. But there are tools out there of a variety of different partners that do this, that track form submissions and phone tracking. So now we get to monitor which of these is performing the best, who's delivering the best impression count and click-through rate, and so that we're getting the right traffic here, and who's filling out forms and who's making phone calls. If they fill out a form, they're going to go further down the pipeline. And in this scenario, I've put here that they're going to go through an email nurture sequence. So maybe they're not quite ready to, I'm going to jump to Will, maybe they're not quite ready to buy the full-fledged course, but
Hmm.
they want just a teaser to see if they like him or not. This could be a lead magnet just to grow his database, and the email marketing would nurture them to build more trust and authority so that then they opt into the service that's going to give them the solution they came to the site looking for. So it all comes down to just because you have it doesn't mean they're going to come. You have to build know, like, and trust, which is authority, trust, and likability, especially in service-based offerings. And you measure those things by KPIs that we talked about earlier. So impressions, click-through rates, open rates, page views, form submissions, phone calls, and get the goal is to get them to whatever that conversion is that you defined from this jump. So maybe for Will, it's I want 10 private clients in my coaching program. And Dylan, it might be I want 10 downloads a week or whatever your thing is. Get as specific as you can so that you can make marketing work as specific as you can. So now I'll open it up to you guys. What questions or thoughts do you have?
Um, I guess the one that I'm not hearing in the like I like this. The thing that I'm trying to square with it is something I really like about Apple's marketing or old marketing anyway, is that they communicate their value, what they think is important in the world or important as like what they do as a company as part of their message. And it's sort of like we value creativity. We love the creative people, the like misfits, the whatever. Um, and uh, and so like if you're one of those people, and we all kind of aspire to be, then like here's this product that we built that makes you better. Um, so it's this, like it's like building the brand part of the sequence of like who we are as a company, what we value, uh, to then like inform the I don't know, the messaging, I guess.
No, I get it. I think what you're really saying is your brand awareness versus
Mm,
direct campaigns, right? And the difference tactically is direct campaigns are set to a purpose driven now. So back to the goals, we need
okay.
downloads now. And those, when you're, especially if you have a limited budget, can be done in short bursts versus
Mm,
brand awareness is a long-term investment.
gotcha. Okay.
They can be mini campaigns, right, at the same time. Um, but brand awareness doesn't always spark action right away. So this is where you go into what temperature, how aggressive do you need to be within your marketing? Let me try, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to try and find this other diagram that I have um, that kind of represents that, shows that a little bit differently. But I think that's what we're saying, you're saying is the creative culture that Apple would put out is showcasing brand awareness, like we're cool and hip and we get you.
Yeah, yeah. Like the famous ad was like, here's to the misfits, the whatever, and like the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the only ones who or change the world are the only ones who actually do. Um, None of that is like saying like you have a pain or a um you want this MacBook. But if you are one of these people and you have something like you're trying to create or compose or write or whatever, here's your tool for it. It's just like, you know, an iPhone or an iPad or MacBook or whatever.
Sure.
Um,
I
And
think
so
in a way,
that's
though, that's a pain point, right? Like I feel so out of place because nobody around me cares enough to want to do what I do. Nobody's passionate
mm,
enough, and I have all this passion, and Apple sees me, right?
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's even, I don't have a funnel right in front of me, but that's if you picture a sales funnel, the top of it is awareness, right? So they're cultivating, hey, we're here, and
Mm,
grab their attention so they can push them to the next level, right?
Hmm.
And so sometimes I'll give that analogy or comparison of like John V. Schultz, right? John V. Schultz has the greatest sale of the year all the time. Right? Like there's always a
Yeah.
furniture sale and they're in your junk post office box on Tuesdays and they're all over. And it's so the fact that they catch you at the right time. So you may see it today of the greatest sale, but you don't need any furniture, Dylan, because you're moving, right? Maybe making up a
Yeah.
scenario. But until then, like the one I would give this story is like, I don't need a couch right now. I have one until my dog chews it up, and now I need one. Well, who am I going to think of? Oh, I think of John V. Schultz because they have the greatest sale of the year all the time.
Mm. Yep.
So brand awareness is your long-term investment to always be in the right place at the right time all the time. And so I found that diagram on to show you and it's a blog that I can share to you as well. But it's defining short and long term campaigns. So, growth versus demand. So, we did an ad campaign in March and we saw a spike in growth with a short little plummet after. Did another campaign in June at the same budget, same way. We saw a little bit more spike go because we learned a lot from the first one. Then it dies down when the campaign's done and we do it again. And so we have this slow growth by these short-term bursts of campaign spends versus brand awareness. If you spend the same each month, you just have this slow growth happening. So it comes back to again
Gotcha.
of how much do you have to
Hmm.
invest? How quickly do you need to grow? Someone like Will, who has courses at set times of the year, possibly, right? Maybe launches a new one and needs to fill it, is going to do a quick burst to fill that pipeline and spend his money in small fragments versus all the time. And then here, you're
Cool.
spending even more if you're doing brand awareness at the same time as campaign. So think
Mm.
about how much do you have to spend? Have you ever seen
Mm.
my let's see if I can find it real quick. Marketing thermometer. Hoping I can find it in here. Ah, yeah. Determine your aggressiveness. So you can read that too, but this is one of my favorite charts of how aggressive do you need to be. So when I talk with Brian Slaywin of the Ben Franklin Tech Partnership, and
Hmm.
he talks about rolling out new software like you have, Dylan, he'll even say 50% of projected revenue. If you have angels
Yeah.
investors, that's great,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Someone like a water park resort that's been around for a long time, they're at 2%.
Hmm.
Most businesses are falling in the 5 to 7% until they need to get a good bump and then they're time to kick it up. So this comes back to really understanding your sales cycle, your revenue lines, so you can understand, well, what am I trying to do? Goes back to goals. I want to sell 10 classes at $100 each. Well, we're not going to spend $50,000 to sell 10 $100 classes, right? That just wouldn't make sense unless we had a very long-term plan in place.
It makes sense. Mm.
Questions, thoughts, challenge me. It's your time.
So a scenario is um, Journey, Trauma Informed Life is pretty well known for our niche in therapy for new majority people, trauma-based stuff. We're adding a new program, a new service delivery um, income stream that's adjacent to that, right? So we're going to be doing, instead of direct therapy, either group or one-on-one, we're going to be adding a case management piece where people that are coming in for intensive therapy may also have these issues that are more socially oriented. Like I need to get a job. I need to reapply for health insurance. I need to blah, 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 blah. So how do we take that? We have some pretty good brand awareness in our niche, and then also we have to now do a slightly different but adjacent audience that we need to target and say, hey, we have this additional service that we want you to refer your people to.
So I would imagine you first are going to need case managers. So do
Yeah, so we have those.
you have
Yeah.
those? So you have the supply, and
Hmm.
so now you're going to match the supply to the demand. Is
Hmm.
that fair? Because sometimes the new social services, we need to hire the people to deliver the service.
Yeah.
So that's good. So what I would start with, and I have no history of the organization, right, is I would try to capture some of the narratives, the stories of clients in which triggered all this to transpire. And we
Hmm.
know that has to be anonymous, but there's no reason why there can't be, um, you know, sensitive coverings of names and whatever, and say, we're seeing a large percentage, throw in stats and facts because you're getting grant funding for some of this. Is that right? Or you got something to, no, nothing.
Yeah, we took out a loan, an
Oh, right.
expansion loan.
That's right. Um, But facts and information are going to be great to show what you're doing. Like, hey, we saw a need for this, and now we are delivering this. So I feel like you have to almost go like a B2B as well as a B2C narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are you still targeting the same type of audience for the case management?
Slightly. I also want to just notice that Dylan has to go around
Yeah,
Oh,
I need
now.
to
Okay.
drop
soon.
Well,
off.
So,
thanks for dropping
Yeah,
in again, Dylan.
no problem. Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Hopefully soon.
All right.
Yep.
nice
Yep.
to meet
Bye.
you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed that when I was kind of taking over
It's
what do I
okay.
do here? So,
It's all good. And Will, I just remind you, like I'm recording it and I put it on the office hours page.
mhm.
Um,
Okay,
just
great.
so you make sure that if there's anything sensitive.
Yeah, sure. So don't ask about that super secret thing that we were talking about,
Shh.
whatever that is. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, so I guess just to dive a little deeper and fill out an answer to your question, which was, are you attracting the same kind of client, or
hmm
what was, could you
Who are
formulate your
the
question again?
who would consumer A comes in for therapy services.
Hmm.
Is consumer A also for case management, or is there a consumer B that should be targeted for case management services?
Both, but we already have consumer A on board. So an internal referral doesn't need any outside brand
Fair.
awareness or advertising. So we're looking to attract consumer B.
So if we go back to the sky,
Hmm.
right? What are the goals for the case management service? And probably in your case, it might be to within a set time frame, so within the first 6 months, we project that we can serve X amount of consumers. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know how your goals are setting forth, right?
Mhm.
And then if it's consumer B, who is that? And try to drill down where they are. And then their pain. So their pain might be can't get into one-on-one therapy, or I have gaps in between therapy that therapists can't, whatever those things are, then that'll help you craft the message. Oh, Dylan's coming back in.
Awesome.
Um, you're back.
My meeting got pushed 30 minutes, so
Oh,
now I can come back. Yeah.
it's okay. Well, this is good. We were just trying to walk through his scenario, right, where he's going to be offering case management services to a new
Mm,
line of consumers, right? Because if they're consumers already in practice, that's already an easy transition to case management.
mm.
So, well, maybe not easy, but they're already in his sphere. So, what are some goals for the case management line of service? And I'm just throwing out, it might be so many consumers you serve, it might be so many hours. I'm not sure how you will monitor what success looks like, right? And
Yes.
oh, go ahead. I'll let you.
Well, I was just going to ask a couple of questions about the goals and how you would define it in this setting.
Sure.
Uh, so on one hand, the most practical goal is what is our break-even point? We've invested in training and hiring and um, advertising. We've invested my time into developing this program and getting the permits from the state and all of that. So one goal is how soon do we make up our investment and start making money off of it? What is that? So we have a pretty good idea of how many clients and how long we need to have that, except for the state doesn't tell us how much they reimburse us, which, why would they do that? They're like, how much are you going to use this service? And I say, how much are you going to pay us per service unit? And they're like, we can't tell you that. And I'm just like, okay, this is fun. Anyway, so that is one goal. The second goal, which I feel is a little more human and a little more relatable, both to business to consumer and business to business, is how are we going to transform these people's lives that we can't achieve through individual or group therapy? And you in your business may not be able to reach while you're providing the individual therapy or the service that you provide. Why does this make sense to add on to it?
Well, that really kind of comes, I think, into a competitive positioning because there are other organizations here who have case managers, for example, adults. How would Pat
Mhm.
choose? Does Pat choose to get the case manager or is it assigned to him, right? So there's the difference between two organizations, right? One's probably legally assigned, or I don't know if legal is the right word, but I think you know what I'm saying. Versus does
So,
the consumer
yeah.
opt into it?
Yeah. So just sticking with the simplistic design, um, Pat is Pat has consumer choice, right? So um, say we're competing with Stairways, Mental Health Association, and Journey have the same program that we can offer. And Pat gets discharged from inpatient psychiatric services and needs not just individual counseling, because there's 100 places that Pat could go for individual counseling, but the case manager, the discharge social worker that's coming up with the plan says you would also benefit from this service. And here are 3 agencies in Erie that provide this service. At that point, that's where we want to talk to the social worker that's working on the discharge plan and the consumer, just by how we get that information in front of them, whether it's already known, like Pat says, "Oh, I already know Journey and I really like them," or the social worker that's working on the discharge says, "Oh, here are the three choices," and kind of says, "Here's the three choices," and Journey's kind of put up a little bit higher because they have good experience with us.
So we have really two target audiences then, Pat, the consumer, and social worker for referrals.
Yeah, just simply.
Mm-hmm. And so, you and I can go through later. There's probably some red tape in this seat of
Mhm.
um, whom are they, are you allowed to solicit for referrals or not? I know there's some red tape and some other lines of in that zone. Um, so with
Yeah.
this, we would really break these out by we would do this worksheet twice, one for
Mhm.
consumers, one for referrals.
Yeah. And I think for referrals, it's not even that we need to like promote ourselves so that the social worker pushes us forward. Right now, they just need to know that now we're offering the service. So we're another option. And nobody knows that because we're brand new at it.
So this one could be brand awareness as you're doing the work, whereas this one might be a direct call, maybe we'll call it.
Yeah.
So let's start with the direct call or Pat, right? And we would go through what are Pat's challenges
Mhm. Yeah.
and
So
yep.
do you want me to do
Yeah,
that
let's
or?
let's
Yeah.
play with it. We have a few minutes.
Okay. So, yes, I can go to individual therapy at Agency X, but I'm also in recovery and I need somebody to help me get connected with a recovery group. Um, yes, I can get individual therapy, but I also lost my health insurance because for whatever reason, I'm now unemployed and I need some social services there. Um, yes, I can find a therapist and figure out how to do XYZ, but also I really just want to talk to somebody that knows what I'm going through. And that's the unique part of the program that's not just case management, it's a peer case manager. So somebody that's been in the system already and is it's kind of like if a case manager and an AA sponsor had a baby. This is the program, so it's like, don't just give me a professional that can help me fill out applications or, do XYZ. Um, but give me somebody that's already walked into a recovery meeting totally knowing nobody and scared out of their mind. Give me somebody that has been overwhelmed by Social Security, asking me 100 questions that I don't know. Give me somebody that knows what I'm going through and has been there. And so I can trust them better.
So I'm just throwing out some words here. I don't know. Can you see that
Mhm.
okay? Do I have to zoom in?
Mhm.
Based off of this, it's to personalize it from what you've said as far as other caseworkers. Navigate, help are all great words. Guide me, help me. And I like the second one the best, to the right help. And this is where I would go in to use ChatGPT and say, I'm trying to target consumers. Here are the three primary challenges. Help me craft a handful of ad messages that strike their challenges to build trust and bring awareness. I love using ChatGPT for this because I'm not a writer, right? But I need help fleshing out ideas. And so here we have ideas started, and we can use ChatGPT to help expand it further. So we can pause on it now, and then the outcomes could be some KPIs for you, right? It might be referral applications have to come in.
Hmm.
They need to be pre-qualified. And then qualified, they're assigned. But even before that, we would definitely be looking at website visits to the case management page. Um, I would think here it's strategic partnerships.
Hmm.
So you might want to be counting and monitoring those partnerships. If you spend a lot of effort talking to X organization, but they're not driving anything in, then you can reallocate your time differently. Do you have any thoughts to add to this before we keep going?
No, I think it's pretty much right on. I think using ChatGPT or some AI generated ideas for what's the message is great.
Hmm. As long as
Um,
you start with the pain, because the AI may not really know the pain. You are in the heart of it,
mm,
so you can fuel it that way. I think it's a really good idea to separate consumer and referrals, especially down to distribution methods, because how we talk to Pat is going to be different than how we get in front of social
right.
worker.
Yeah.
So there might be a lot of print materials here
Hmm.
for distribution. Um, there might be, again, this is where we just download ideas until we can get to a budget.
What
But
was what was your you had on the other page? Um, I don't know that it's going to be specifically networking and events, but something like that. Like
oh,
almost like
strategic
a
outreach.
yeah, like some sort of um, door-to-door salesman almost. Like somebody's got to go to Lecom hospital and say, "Can we meet with your social workers? And this is what we're doing, and this is why, that sort of thing. And let us leave you with 10 brochures." So,
Yes. Yep. And then to that, Will's heard me talk about ponds before, right? So, um, I'm not even a fisherman, Dylan, but somehow this analogy came to me years ago of, if I go throw a line into the lake with just a piece of bread on it, like who knows what I'm gonna get, right? I'll get something,
Mm,
but I have to have the right lure and go to the right part of the lake or bay or whatever,
where the
creek,
fish are that you want. Yeah.
correct. And so to identify the pond, or first to identify what kind of fish are you trying to catch? Where do those fish frequent? Pond. Now we figure out the right kind of bait to put inside that pond to get that kind of fish. So in this scenario with Will, like are already thinking about our shelters, um, that have critical caseloads or critical consumers that need help guiding, and maybe their case managers are overloaded and need different. Maybe there's a parallel partnership happening there. And that's where strategic outreach as a distribution method can oftentimes be construed between what in non-therapy practices, right, would be sales and marketing, right? Like you're going to have an outreach coordinator or development person, or I'm not sure what other titles would be there, but of building the relationship of, hey, shelter XYZ, how can we work together? We're offering a service that talks to your same people, helps your same people. Maybe we can help them differently than you can. And then that comes back again to where do you prioritize that? Well, how quickly do you need to grow? Who is that the right pond to go into? Is that going to be a good ancillary partnership? So there's a lot of strategic questions to ask in there in order to understand who the strategic outreach methods are. Um, Maybe something like Erie Family Center, who focuses on kids 0 to 12. I don't think they have case managers for adults. That's a different agency. So that's why I said earlier about competitive analysis. Like, does Pat already have a caseworker? And how does this
Hmm.
case management differ? Or if they
Hmm.
already have one, are they automatically disqualified?
Right. And those are questions, that are a little bit drilled a little bit deeper down. But
Sure.
we could find the Pat that doesn't. Um,
Well, I'm going to just go with that scenario for a second, right? Because
okay. Okay.
if if it's okay, just to finish a thought that I have of if Pat can't have another caseworker or can't use your services because he already has a caseworker, then the language is different of the messaging
Hmm.
we put out. Even if it's the same, Pat has a caseworker, but now you can also get this caseworker. We don't overwhelm Pat. We have to be able to describe how this one is different from this one.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's why the red tape comes into play of understanding how it works so that we can translate it to language Pat can understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So in some ways, we may want to take Pat away from their current case manager only because we think we're a better match for Pat, right? Like we work a lot with transgender folk here. Like probably work the most trans folk in Erie County. Um, and so if Pat is transgender and also qualifies for the program, we think that Pat would be better off with us. Other times, we don't want to take Pat away from their case manager if they already have one, because Pat isn't transgender, or because Pat is able to be served best by either agency. So I
Yeah,
don't
so
know if that's going where you wanted to or
no,
not.
I think that's great because the more we can define who Pat is,
Mm,
the more language gets clearer. Because
mm.
up here, recovery, that could be anybody.
Yeah.
But if you're trans and in recovery, oh, you know what? My case manager just doesn't get that my recovery challenges are different than the pseudotypical recovery person.
Mm.
And so now we're getting it more finite. And in this world, it would really be called a vertical, right? So a vertical within this segment is trans. It might be, what are some of the other terms that you use, Will?
Oh,
Disabled,
mhm.
ne
Queer,
queer, neurodivergent,
neurodivergent, and
Neuro.
BIPOC,
Yeah.
and
neurodivergent. Thank you.
neurodivergent and BIPOC.
And BIPOC. So each one of those are a vertical. And the common thread is they don't get me.
Hmm.
But to say it in their language through each of these panes gets it more specific. Now you're building authority and trust. Oh, yeah, that the upper class white lady doesn't get that I'm this, this, and this. But they have. And so in your case, you want to show the case managers, no, we literally get it.
Yeah.
I'm
So
noodling.
going back to your idea of getting the testimonials, so to speak. Also, I mean, that might help getting the staff, just the program staff, in front of people in a way that lets them know without like putting a flag on them or a label that says, "Hi, I'm Pat the transgender peer specialist, case manager," but giving them the vibe or the flavor of we're open, diverse, and we see you. Kind of like what Dylan was saying about Apple, like we see you because you're the kind of outcast weirdo that thinks they can make a difference. We want you, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we get you, we help you, we are you. Well, we're not are you, but we are, yeah, we are you. I just wasn't thinking in the
Hmm.
negative zone.
Hmm.
Um, a totable, relatable campaign, just like we hear from, Disney. Disney had white princesses forever, and little girls couldn't always relate to that. So it's that connectivity. And but so here's a marketing advertising challenge that Will and I have had in the past is getting the imagery to support the advertising campaign, right? Stock
Mm.
images are, even though feel like a black hole of options, then they're not, right? And then we need real life people that are directly to, especially in this such a niched audience. It's very hard to search those terms of stock
Mhm.
images, right? And so that proves challenge. And then what that happens next is how do we get the right people in the camera to represent the people we're trying to talk to? And that opens up a gamut of other obstacles to cut through. But that's where I love to sit as a fractional CMO to come in and say, okay, if what's our budget? How can we dissect this budget and allocate it to the things that are going to have a best long-term investment? So maybe at the start, it might be we need to allocate a portion of the budget to photographer and models and set up a photo shoot so we create our own proprietary assets to use across this campaign, and we can use those for a year or more, depending on how the climate is.
Or you could go back to ChatGPT again, or one of them AI models. Like there's a Sora, I don't know, but they do some of them do like photorealistic image generation. So you
That's
could
true.
just
We could
like,
try those
or you
too and
could
see.
do the cartoon ones if it was the
Mhm.
right, I don't know, style.
No, I've done that even with a disability organization here that does in-home care. To get them to get the consumers into a photo shoot is very embarrassing for them, depending
Mm,
on what modality they lack. And so we've done a ton of illustrations in order to best represent them. Um, and so then it comes down to what's the style, what's the artistic flair that you want to have so that it does, like, you're going to have that creative brief in order to instruct that illustrator or to search for the illustration or to generate the AI illustration in the best way. So you're not losing minutes lost in an AI world, right?
mm,
So when we come out with the campaign of this, then we can start dissecting. I'm trying to use a new map tool here, dissecting all the things that we need. And so some of the deliverables here might be photo shoot, and maybe we just paraphrase photo shoot as AI stock illustration. You have to figure out what's this look like. And in something like Journeys, Journey has not used illustrations before. And so that would be a new creative asset to their entire brand that we would have to take some really careful look at. Is that the best route to go?
Mm,
Is AI the best route to go? Would the audience respond to an AI image? Or are they going to respond to, hey, I know that person, and yeah, they're doing awesome now.
mhm.
So do we have brand allies, brand advocates that would want to be? So there's a lot of questions in there to disseminate down of what makes the best sense, not only to your existing brand, to your audience, to your budget. But all great points. So messaging is one thing, visual and brand elements are another conjunction to include in there. We've got a couple minutes left. Will, do you have questions back to here?
No, actually, my brain is full.
Yes, I
You
thought
know,
so.
so yeah.
So I was doing one while you guys were talking. I was trying to do mine for the POS app and order flow is what I call it. Um, so like my goal would be uh, get X number of businesses. So I wrote five to pilot the system. The ideal target audience are small, nimble restaurants or coffee shops in the um, local downtown area or um, other supported places for whatever that means. And they Um, yeah, so their pain then is that DoorDash and Grubhub doesn't handle their food very well while it's in transit. DoorDash and Grubhub take the entire margin on their orders, so they don't make a profit from those orders. And DoorDash and Grubhub are not really integrated into their operations or their accounting systems. So it requires a bunch of extra work, both when they are um, taking orders and fulfilling orders, and for whenever they're doing the accounting at the end of the month or end of the week or whatnot. Um, so the outcomes that I'm looking for would be getting trials or getting signups on the in the actual system of those restaurants. I have a little bit more that would have to come after that, so it's like the message would have to get them to the site in some way, shape, or form. Um, I want to kind of build this like just onboarding funnel of like try for free, sign up here, and then a wizard that leads them through the construction of all the information they need to put into the system in order to create a presence in the platform. So that's like defining the location of their store or each of their stores, defining their menu, adding pictures to those menu items, adding descriptions, configuring the options that they want users to be able to put in, and or their cashiers to be able to put in, or their service people, waiters, or whatnot, um, so that they can have a highly customized, like I don't want pickles on this, I don't, whatever, I want this on my pizza kind of stuff. So that all needs to get into the system, which is actually kind of a lot of work. So how do I have to like build a whole bunch of stuff in there to get them through that. But that's part of the getting them to commit is like doing all of that work. And so I have to like we'll have to help them through that. But then at the end is then going live on the platform so that their content is shown to users when they're searching. Um, yeah, so that would be like I think one of these. The actual user would be another ideal
Yeah,
target
another
audience.
sheet.
But that's what I like came up with so far for that.
So I
We're
had
just
an
about out of
idea, and
time.
when you
Yeah.
talked about the trial side of things,
Hmm.
if you could get you said a certain number of people into a trial pilot time, goal for 25 or whatever the number
Hmm.
is, but use that time not only to, and I'm sure you've thought about this, but just to say it out loud, of to not only test their experience of using it and make sure you're flushing out your tech bugs, but I would make sure that whatever survey or feedback collector tool that you use is going to also be positioned to how to capture their language of what brought them to the solution,
Mm.
right? So you get
Yeah.
their words. So if you talk to Larry, Larry's going to say, I hate they're expensive. Like I know you gave me these pains, but to
Hmm.
capture it in their words,
Yeah.
would
Okay.
be huge arsenal to your marketing.
Mm.
Then what features do you want to see most? And now you'll have a data saying, well, 70% want to make sure they can customize their pizza or whatever, thing is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That would be great ammunition then for the angel investors or whatever scenario of funding because that you like you said it's going to be a lot of work. Do you want to do a lot of work when only 5% of the people said it and you thought they needed it? So it would validate or give you some validation as to where more time needs to be spent and more customization needs to be spent to get the 1.0 off the ground.
Mm.
Does that
Gotcha.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Very
But so
cool.
use it as ops, construction, but marketing, get some questions in there to try to capture the language from their point of view, their nomenclature, the way they say it, because they all are in the same business of food and beverage. So if there's, you said small food cafes, right? So they're all speaking the same kind of speak. And
Yeah.
now that'll give you that same thing. And now they're gonna be like, oh, Dylan, he knows my business. He knows that
Mm,
it's a pain.
yeah, yeah. All right, cool.
And I would say for yours, it would be a strategic outreach for the initial thing
Yeah,
because,
yeah. I
hey,
have the downtown partnership, EDDC, our strategic outreach. So
yep,
yeah, yeah.
yep. But who's going to be the one charged with getting in front of, we'll keep picking on Larry downstairs. Who's going to be the
Mm,
one that's getting in front of the Larry and saying, hey, I'd love for you to try this pilot program
hmm.
and shift how you're operating. Like that's going to take a
Fair.
whole
Yeah,
other seat
yeah,
that might not be those are going to be the connectors.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is a different order. I need to have the app in a like place where I can be like, let me show you this. And and
Right.
then like, yeah, it's more of like, I don't know. Yeah, there's a message there for sure. But I want the end of that conversation to be, let me show you just how easy this is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, so, but yeah, I'll get there.
Yeah.
Fingers
Cool.
crossed.
All right,
Do we
guys. Well,
have,
that's the we're at the bottom of the time or end of our time. So, thank you for coming. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to give a free strat call. If you just can go to the website agencygen.com and click get started, and we can do a one-on-one if you want to do a deeper dive.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Great.
right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
You
Okay,
too.
thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.